Good morning, and thanks for joining in. I'm here with Alexandra from My Credit Guy, and we wanted to talk about credit and credit as it relates to your life, credit as it relates to real estate, and really wanted to talk about 5 topics for today. The first one, dispelling myths about credit score ranges. Second topic, why do we have so many different credit scores? Third topic, let's say life happens, my credit's destroyed, is my life over? Fourth topic, do credit and debt mean the same thing? And topic number 5, what are some of the easiest pitfalls to avoid? All right, cool. So with that, let's dive right into topic number 1, dispelling myths about credit score ranges.
Well, first, let me say thank you so much for having me, Andrew. I hope everyone out there has had an amazing day and is just looking out at everything that's going on in our world and really finding the gratitude in the day-to-day of it all. So thank you again for having me.
Glad you're
here. In regard with those scoring ranges, it's amazing. We log into everything online and it tells us we're excellent, or maybe we're good, maybe we're fair, or okay, we're poor. We go into a store or a merchant to do a transaction, whether it's our bank or the car dealership, and they tell us, okay, you've got an A credit rating, you've got a B credit rating, a C credit rating, especially with all of us like homeschooling these days. Some of those things are it's like, oh wow, wait. And I'm a huge fan of analogies. I'm a huge fan of how does this really relate to reality and to my world. So for example, let's just relate it back to school. Some people are completely doing phenomenally well for their world if they are a C student, because maybe they're a C student in all honors classes. Maybe they're a C student, but that work their way up from being an F student. I want everyone out there to really know and understand that credit's the same thing. Yes, according to all these charts, you really want to be above a 780. Guess what? In the lending world, anything above a 720 is pretty much golden. You don't have to worry about much. There's like, I think all 3 programs ever, anything above a 720. And therefore, being at a 720 is equivalent to being at an 850. So if we shift that entire range down, everyone that right now thinks that they have a C or a D credit rating, quite frankly, is probably a pretty solid B. And a B gets you a lot of stuff in this world. Still gets you to graduation, still probably gets you a scholarship, still allows you to, move forward and do the things you want to do. Same thing with credit.
Nice. That's a great way to put it. I never thought about it like that, but thanks for the analogy. Love that. It's a great way to kind of compare it. So that's awesome. So let's talk about topic number 2. Why do we have so many different scores?
The reason we have so many different scores is there's actually been over 56 algorithms that have been created to generate a score. Unfortunately, we tend to think of Experian, Equifax, TransUnion, these companies as the credit gods. And I don't mean to say that in a patronizing way or anything like that. It's just, we tend to think of them as they run this show. Well, guess what? All they are is data clearinghouses. They have no impact whatsoever on the score that is derived from that data. Anywhere that we're getting our data and looking at it, that's a great thing. It's phenomenal for as buyers, as sellers, as just consumers to be aware of what's on our report. However, we don't have the mathematical equations to actually ascertain what that data means in a numeric range. So here's my advice and why we see so many different scores. We see multiple different scores based on the risk level that every different vendor out there is willing to take. So your insurance company is really not loaning you any money. They're willing to take a much higher amount of risk when it comes to your credit rating than say your mortgage company is. Your mortgage company loaning you $500,000, $500,000, is gonna have a lot lower threshold for risk than a cell phone company is. Cell phone company's like, okay, what's the worst you're gonna do? You're gonna skip out on $1,000 phone and you're gonna owe me for a couple months of service at, let's just call it a couple $100. Okay, so worst case scenario, we're out $1,200, $1,400 on you. That's a pretty minimal amount of risk. Whereas, again, a car at $70,000 that can drive off into the sunset, a house that right now especially can't be foreclosed on, can't be evicted out of. There's some pretty major risk level. So with these different algorithms, with these different mathematic equations, we have to understand where we're getting the data and the data is being used for and why. So just a quick, concise way of looking at it. If we're looking at it online, even if it's Experian.com, even if it's TransUnion.com, keep in mind that's not the same as the data clearinghouse. If it's any of the other free onlines, they're still having to purchase this data. And the way that they drive revenue is not just those monthly subscriptions, which most people don't do, and I don't advise. They're actually generating the majority of their revenue from advertisers and banner ads. And you're not going to click on something if you don't meet the minimum criteria for it. So they're going to now inflate you to meet that minimum criteria because they need to drive revenue. Everything online as a whole is going to be inflated. If you even read the fine print at the bottom, most of them say that they go from a $450 to a $999, whereas in the financial sector, we only go from a $350 to an $850. Now, on the flip side, when we see creditors, if you're getting your credit card statement, if you're looking at those numbers, most of those numbers are actually suppressed. The reason that they're suppressing you is to keep you loyal. Again, if you think you're not as good as you are, the odds of you shopping and going somewhere else and taking your business elsewhere are greatly reduced. They have less risk. So really, it depends on what you're looking at in your world and what that score means for you. Ignore it from a standpoint of vanity, and know that if you want to buy a car, go ask a car guy. If you want to buy a house, go talk to a lender. I know you have several great ones you can introduce them to. If you're looking at simply knowing where you stand, then look at the data for accuracy and discard the score.
Awesome. Super helpful. Thank you. Moving on to topic number 3. So this is a reality, especially now. There's a lot going on in our current environment. If life happens, as you say, and your credit's ruined or negatively affected, is your life over?
It's not. And I really want people to be aware that life has to come first. The things that we deal with and struggle with on a day-to-day basis really should be the priority, not monitoring, not having alerts. It kind of feeds into that point number 2 about where should we be getting that data and should we be looking at it? It shouldn't be overriding everything else in our world. So here's some examples of life happening. Some of my favorite ones: divorce. People get vindictive. People have life happen. Identity theft. It does happen. We've had data breaches. We've lost a wallet. We've had our car broken into, and people have taken our cards and our ID, and it happens. Personal injury. I'm not trying to, tote the lawyers out there, but we live in Colorado. We have car accidents. We have snow. We have all of these things happen, and all of it can have medical consequences, work consequences, as you said. Even right now, how many people are out of work, are about exactly what to be doing on that, and how to make that best work with their lifestyle. So if we can be proactive to the best of our ability, it's always ideal to be late on things that are not on credit, just because they're not going to impact in the same way. If we can't, then everything can be fixed. Fair Credit Reporting Act was enacted in 1978 and has over 190 bylaws and subsections. And let's just think a lot about how much has happened in the 40 plus years since 1978. We've got the internet, we've got texting, we have cell phones. I was actually watching a TV show with my daughter the other night, and the attorney got paged, and she's like trying to explain to my son what a pager is. She's like, so it would ring, and then they'd have to call back and text back, and I'm like, no, there was no text.
Wow, that's awesome. That's funny. We lose sight of that. I totally get that.
Yeah, 40 years ago, we were lucky to have a fax.
Yeah.
I remember one of my first jobs in the mortgage world, actually, funny enough, we had a printer that had the strips on the sides that you'd have to tear off, because it was the dot matrix.
Oh,
print.
Yeah.
And so you'd sit when you were on calls and turn those into those little accordion things.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm really teaching myself now.
That's awesome. I remember this. I do.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
life happens, and the Fair Credit Reporting Act, however much we want to believe that these systems are out to get us and that the bureaus are out to get us, they're not. They're 99% consumer driven, because in the context of the way that we do business today, in any of our industries, it can't be held to a 1978 standard, and yet for reporting, it is. So when we go in and contest it, it's amazing the things that can get accomplished and deleted. The one piece of advice on this, though, that I will say, if you're gonna do it, and you're gonna do it yourself, not saying that that's bad or right or wrong, please do me a favor and keep the fact that 1978 is in the back of your mind. Don't do it online. Don't tell them the whole story. People every single day, I find, check the box that is other when they're challenging or contesting something. And I call it the gray box of doom. That's my point of reference for it. Because they start telling their whole story. Guess what we've done? We've now validated the debt. We've now taken full accountability. Always, if you're gonna do it no matter what, if you're getting phone calls, if you're getting solicitations, if you're trying to figure out, oh my gosh, is that a creditor on the phone? What is that? The only response you should ever be giving is, I really have no clue what that is. I'm not sure of it. Please send me documentation. Then make a strategic choice to move forward or not. And what I mean also with the fact that everything in life can happen and can be worked through, there's ways to get these things deleted, either on your own or with support. And just know that you taking care of your life, you taking care of your world, always needs to be that first and foremost.
Awesome. That's great advice. Thank you. Topic number 4. Do credit and debt mean the same thing?
For all of you Dave Ramsey enthusiasts out there, no, but you have to play the game to win it. You cannot win at the credit game if you are not playing it. You have to have a credit card. You have to have some stuff on there. You can't be a ghost. Ghosts don't buy houses. Not to oversimplify it, it's just one of those things. And you don't have to have debt. You can 100% pay your bills off in full. And there's also a time and a place to leverage money. Right now, money has never been cheaper. Historically speaking, money has never been cheaper. So if your money is actually growing at a higher rate in savings, in a money market, wherever it is, than what you're spending, whether that's on a car loan, on a credit card, on a house loan, anything else, it makes more sense to leverage that. And debt is not about swimming and being drowning and making purchases that are irrelevant for our world. It's about being aware that sometimes floating something on a credit card, putting something on that credit card and getting the cashback rewards, getting the points, getting the things that go with it makes more sense than paying cash. Perfect example. I love my Nordstrom card. When I use my Nordstrom card, I get $200 a year in free alterations. Not only in free alterations, but they ship everything to me. So my daughter is super petite, but she's like at that weird height where nothing ever sits on the right level. So almost every single dress, every single pair of pants needs to be hemmed or let out. Guess what? When I buy it from Nordstrom, I tell them the inseam. They have it on record. I put it on my card. Then they alter it for free. They ship it to me for free. Like, just in terms of man hours of going in, having her try it on, doing all this stuff, it saves me hundreds of dollars. And it's on my card. I just write a check for it the next month. Done. No problem. I didn't pay any interest. I don't believe in fees. I completely think that the experts out there, whether it's Dave Ramsey or Susie Orman or whoever we're talking about, Robert Kiyosaki, those are all amazing inspirational models. And guess what? Not all of us have the same millions in the bank that they do.
Right. That's awesome. As someone who gets their clothes tailored because of the same kind of challenges with height and proportions, I totally can appreciate the savings on that, having Nordstrom do it through that card. That's pretty awesome.
It is. And like, there's so many other cards. So here's a more layman's one for everyone. Target. Okay, right now, they're like the only superstore that's open, other than the W1 that I won't name because I personally have some thoughts on that. But we're not talking politics. So Target, if you have their card, you get 5% off on every purchase. No downloads, no coupons, no apps, nothing. And what's really amazing about it, when we talk about debt and credit, you can literally go from the checkout to the customer service counter and pay it off with a check. Okay, that extra 10 steps was worth 5% to me. It's on an annual basis.
That's awesome. Well, awesome. Let's finish off with our final topic number 5, which is some advice. What are the easiest pitfalls to avoid?
Easiest pitfalls to avoid. Don't do it all on your own. Know that you have resources. I mean, Drew, you and I talked about it. Your tool belt, aside from the one that you use like to work on the house and do your honey-do list, your tool belt is so chock full of resources. You're not gonna just YouTube how to become an electrician. Don't do it when it comes to credit. Every consultation out there should be at no cost, should be totally free, and it should be about how do you get coached up and what does that possibly look like for your world. In addition to that, other pitfalls, closing accounts, consolidating accounts, not being mindful of a time frame, and doing it on your own online. Cheesy analogy, but I could put a textbook this thick in front of us, and it could be about law, it could be about medicine, and we could fumble our way through it. We could over the course of the next week say, we read the book. Okay, did we understand any of it? Did we walk out able to do brain surgery, rocket science, argue in front of the Supreme Court? Probably not. At least speaking for myself, I know I would not gain that out of any of those books. Even if I could probably tell you what page something was on, I wouldn't have the knowledge behind it. So same thing with this. There's no need when you have so many resources to just jump in blind. Some basic stuff though. Keep as many of your accounts current as is possible. All the accounts that are on, not your gym membership, not necessarily your water bill, not your trash, all of that. The stuff that's on your credit report, your car loans, your student loans, your personal loans, your credit cards, your store cards, your mortgage, all of that, to the very, very best of your ability, be on time or at least less than 30 days late. Number 2, with that same concept, is keep our credit utilization low. If we can raise our limits and not use them, if we can get fees refunded, all of those things, but we want to be as low on our utilization of revolving debt. This doesn't matter on your student loans. This doesn't matter on your mortgage. It doesn't matter on your car. Nobody cares if you pay your car off early other than yourself and your budget. So if you have an X amount of resource right now, pay those credit cards, those revolving accounts down as much as possible. Next piece, length of history. We want to keep our history as long as we humanly can. So those old long-standing accounts, make sure that they're not going inactive, make sure that they're not closing out organically. Next piece, we want to have a diverse mix of credit. And what does that look like? That does look like, if we can, having a mortgage, having an auto loan or a personal loan of some sort that can count as student loan debt as well, a revolving account, and something in the other category. Final piece, inquiries. Soft pulls are 100% fine. Soft pulls are just a request for information, not a request for money. A hard pull is going to be a request for money. Those are the ones we want to keep to a bare minimum. So if we're shopping for a car, great, let's just go ahead and tell that car dealership, I only want you pulling me one time. Here's my credit union, here's my bank. Please only pull me with them, and then we can discuss if I'm going to give consent for anyone else. Same thing with mortgage. Great, start with one and figure out if you really need anything else.
Okay, awesome. That's super helpful. So obviously there's a wealth of knowledge with Alexandra and her company, My Credit Guy. There's a lot to learn if you're interested in strengthening your credit. If you already have great credit and you want to bump it up even more, because there can be advantages there, especially on the mortgage interest rate front. And for other, of course, interest rate, other products and things you're trying to do. Or if you're just trying to repair your credit from something that happened in life, I would highly recommend you reach out to her. Check out the link in the post. Reach out to us with other questions. And again, thanks so much for watching. And Alexandra, thanks so much for your expertise. I appreciate you sharing a little bit with us.
My pleasure. Thanks everyone for all your patience and watching this whole thing through and for joining us. I appreciate it. Drew is just phenomenal, one of my favorite people in the real estate world. And I know he's looking forward to being of service and support any way he can.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. You guys have a great day.